Since its launch in May of last year, the Ethics and Governance think tank has been engaged in a wide range of different activities. One of them has been the development of a national conversation about ethics, and our fora have featured remarkable South African leaders. 3 of them, though, stand out because of their extraordinary moral courage and their commitment to do what is right in the face of enormous pressure. Nhlanhla Nene, whom we hosted in September of last year, Mcebisi Jonas, whom we hosted in March of this year, and of course, Rabbi Gideon. It's a privilege and an honor to host you tonight. Rabbi Gideon has famously encouraged South Africans to join the dots. On one level, this has to do with engaging in a systemic analysis of our situation, of understanding the central and underlying problem, and not just focusing on what appeared to be its sporadic and disconnected manifestations. This seems to be something which is happening more and more, including through the uncovering of the role of certain companies in state capture and corruption. But as I understand it, at least, join the dots has a wider implication. It's also about collaboration between diverse societal stakeholders to achieve collective impact. It's about South Africans working together despite the seriousness of their differences in pursuit of ethical leadership and transformation, of institutional integrity, and of inclusive growth. We can perhaps relate this challenge to a different and striking idea. In any ethical and well-functioning society, you have to have a degree of guilt and of shame, as unattractive as those words might sound. Now, there's a fundamental difference between guilt and shame, as the great anthropologist Ruth Benedict demonstrated in the late 1940s. In shame cultures, morality is defined and driven by what others expect of us. What deters or discourages us from behaving unethically is the fear of shame, the disapproval, the disgrace, and the humiliation that we'll experience if other people find out what we've done. So shame is related to social conformity and control. In guilt cultures, ethical behavior doesn't depend on the attitudes and perceptions of others, but on our intrinsic understanding of how we ought to behave, on us doing what is right because it is right. In such a culture, people freely choose to behave in accordance with their internalized moral precepts. So guilt is the inner disturbance that we experience when we behave in a way that goes against what we know is right. Shame is about public image or societal expectation. Guilt is about the voice of our own conscience. Shame is directed towards the other. Guilt is inner-directed. Now, in an ideal society, behavior would be directed by each person's moral compass. They'd be motivated by their own consciences, as in a culture of guilt. But where this kind of ethical maturity is lacking, a sense of shame can also prevent ethical failure. In our hyper-connected and transparent world, the potential for shame is magnified, as we've seen in the scandals engulfing Bell Pottinger, KPMG, McKinsey, SAP, and others. Now, of course, public shaming raises troubling ethical questions around the violation of human privacy and dignity. But shaming can enable people to challenge powerful individuals and organizations and hold them to account. It's perhaps the fear of appearing on the front page of the Sunday Times that deters some corporate leaders from behaving badly. So where does South Africa stand? Well, the problem we have, as I argued in a piece in the Business Day a few months ago, is that some of our leaders have no sense of guilt, nor even a sense of shame. They seem to lack a moral compass and a conscience, the source from which a sense of guilt arises, but they also seem to be arrogantly indifferent and brazen, unmoved by any sense of shame, without any sensitivity to what others will think when their bad behavior is revealed. They refuse to resign despite the public exposure of their dishonesty, corruption, and incompetence. And this is seen, of course, in one crisis and scandal after the other, involving government departments and SOEs. It's this spirit of shamelessness which, perhaps above all else, undermines the ethical foundations of our society and threatens our future. But as we all know, we also have leaders who have extraordinary moral courage, who, because of their unbending moral compasses, have defied all sorts of fearsome pressures and threats in the service of our country. This should inspire us all during this time of anxiety in South Africa, and it should inspire us in whatever sphere of influence we operate to also do the right thing and to join the dots, to work together with our fellow South Africans in the struggle against shamelessness and in support of ethical leadership and transformation.